It's been a while since I've done a vlog, and today I was just talking to like somebody, and they asked me, Dulce, so why do you want to pursue this? Why do you want long term? Like, what do you want long term? And I sat down with myself and like to answer their question, and I was like, honestly, because I want a better life. I know how it is to feel whenever you're penny watching, penny picking, when you had to settle for that meal, knowing there's somebody out in that world having more type deal. I even went on to say, because I want to be financially free, I don't want to be in the 9 to 6, I don't want to be enslaved. I want to actually be present for my kids whenever I do get to have them. I actually want to enjoy my life. I want to have a peaceful life, a life where I'm not working the life out of myself for a company or a corporation. And it was saddening me because like the reasons behind it was because of the way that I grew up. I was almost like tearing up because I was remembering like, wow, like now that I'm grown, like I understand why my dad was working most of the times, because I would only see him during the weekends. And as a child, you get accustomed to it. And those like Saturdays and Sundays, like when my dad would be off, like that felt like, different days. I'm not sure if you get like that weird sensation where whenever like both parents are at home, but I don't know if it was just my case. But with my dad, like it just felt like, anytime now, whenever he's off, it feels like it's a Sunday. But that's because that's how we grew up. We grew up having him off on Sundays. And I was talking about like to them, like, because it was a married couple. And I was just like, it upsets me that I don't have a good relationship with my dad or a close relationship with him now because of the way that I grew up. He was present in my life, but he wasn't emotionally invested. I barely saw him. He was always working. And that did affect that relationship. And so I don't want my kids to have that. I want both parents to be present, to have like that availability, to actually show up for their kids. And it was actually just making me more upset because it was just like, wow, my inner child feels abandoned. My inner child has that resentment. She wanted her dad. She wanted to have that bond with her dad. And there's just that resentment from growing up because, she just got used to her dad working. That's what dad does. That's what daddy, does for to survive. And I normalized that. And so my mom was like the one that was present most of the time, and she was the one that was trying to keep it together because both my parents are immigrants. They're not from the US. I'm a first gen, and so that's not easy. They don't know the language. My mom didn't have the opportunities that I have now. And so at the time, she was jobless and she was doing the best that she can to make ends meet. And that had to do with food, taking care of us, making sure that at least we had a meal to eat. And, that sucked because in the neighborhood that I used to live in, it was the suburbs. There was a bunch of white kids with good homes, parents that had good paying jobs. And it was the light-skinned Mexicans, I'm not gonna lie, but they were better off. Their parents had, a little bit of English in them, or they had some experience, or someone that that knew how to help them navigate. And these kids will be better off dressed with name brand clothing. They'll get Whataburger, they'll get McDonald's, they will have the name brand shoes. And so it made me feel left out because I'm here wearing Walmart. I was wearing my Payless shoes, and that shit sucked because I got bullied for it. I got bullied for that shit. There was this one time while I was in the bus with me and my sister, and someone really had the audacity to say those are not real Converse. Those are wannabe Converse. You just have wannabe shoes. And it made me so insecure as a kid that I would literally draw the little lines on the Payless shoes and try to draw a little star to make it it was a real Converse, because that's how messed up the kids were back then. And especially with the name brand clothing, the name brand clothing that I would get was hand-me-downs. They were either from Garazzos or from my cousins that, you know, they outgrew their clothing, so I would wear and try to play it off. And that sucks. That really sucks. And when it came to food and stuff like that, like, God forbid, like, you know, we had to eat beans and tortillas sometimes, or just eat, you know, soup. And that's all we had at times, especially whenever like we would do like the special like Quaresma. I'm not sure if you guys, I think it's like repentance or something like that. We're not like, it's Catholic stuff where they don't eat meat. And that, oh, whenever that stuff would happen in my life, I shit you not, there would be times where I would starve. And this is me not being ungrateful, but there's just certain food that my mom would make that it was just not for my cup of tea. I couldn't eat it. Like, I would unpleasantly eat it and just want to barf. And this is like because like those beans called lentejas, they have a weird taste. They don't taste like real beans. And there were times like she will try to experiment to make it tasty, and I'm like, just stop. Just stop. Sometimes I would just like get sick and tired of the same old food. But it was like that for quite some time. It didn't mean that I lived in luxury. I was privileged to have a house. I was privileged to have clothing. I was privileged to have both parents, and you know, that stuck it through even up until like now. So just looking back at that, I'm just like, I don't want that for my kids. I don't want them to ever feel like, you know, they can't get food from outside, like McDonald's or Whataburger, and feel them like, you know, they're restricted from enjoying themselves, from having fun. I don't want them to ever feel like they're responsible for my well-being, my emotional well-being, or financial standing, or having to like penny watch whenever we're grocery shopping, because that's what I had to do. I had to look at the prices. I had to make sure like, oh, you know, like, can you afford this? And it would just be a bag of chips. Something just as small as that, a bag of fucking chips. Or even just cheese. Like, I like pepper jack cheese. Sometimes I will have to like be like, okay, mom, this is how much is this? Can we afford it? And she'll have to like count the groceries and make sure that that's how much we had enough. And so like just looking back, like it just, talking my experience out to this couple really was giving me a reality check that my inner child is so, it got deprived. It got deprived, but it wasn't like for like malintent, because my parents, like, you know, down the line, they have shown up. They've done the best that they could. But I personally don't ever want to experience that. And, you know, even me like living on my own for as long as that I have, it's taught me a lot. Like it gave me a reality check. Like, wow, like, you know, now that like your parents are like, you know, doing well, because it does take time. It all takes time, especially when you're like foreign to a new country that you don't even know the language to. You don't know the ins and outs. You don't know your benefits. You just know that you gotta work the 9 to 5 just to make it survive. I forgot where I was going with. I just don't want my kids to go through that. And this is why, like, I'm working towards bettering myself as an individual so my kids don't ever have to go through that. I don't want anybody to go through that. Whenever I see people struggling, even sometimes like out in the street, like, I feel this guilt. I feel this sense of like responsibility. Like, if I had $1 million, like, I will give this individual like a hotel, clothing, a place so they can wash themselves. And this is like on some real note. I really don't talk about this like to anybody, but it's just my internal thoughts, where it's like, if I had that money, this is what I'd be doing. If I had this money, it will go through like shelter animals, because there's so many animals in the shelters that, you know, get disposed of. And even to like good causes. There is some causes that I'm not sure about your political views, but definitely for women's rights, I am full support for the women's rights. And if you're not, you know, you can easily unfollow. If you don't agree with me, do not care. I'm still gonna stand by it till this day. No man should have any rights to any like women's bodies rights, or body parts, or what they should do with their body. At the end of the day, this was like even before the laws even happened. I still fully support that women get to have that choice for themselves. But it really, like, just living by myself, it gave me like that reality check where it's just like, wow, you have a lot of work to do, but are you willing to do it? Are you willing to actually mean it? Are you willing to go and work for it? Because I did say, I want to build my own house. I was not kidding. I want to build my own house. I've always wanted to build my own house. And this was me as a child. I already had that in mind. I already have pre-planned in my head. I want to build a house. I don't know when or how, but I definitely want that for myself. And I also want a reliable car. I actually want to be good. So it's just like, I'm in this stage in my life where it's like, you're at this pivotal moment in your life, let's say. So what's the choice? Stick to the old ways, go to like the basic 9 to 5, work, slave yourself, be naive, blind yourself, do the normal thing that everybody does, or are you gonna educate yourself and actually do better for yourself and actually help others along with that? So that is where I'm at in my journey. I'm still educating myself, and I even openly admitted to them, you know what? You know, I don't want to live in a life of regrets. I'm going to try this. This is something new. This is different. This is a different opportunity. And I would rather, you know, see it if it doesn't work out for me. And if it does, okay, cool. And if it doesn't, oh well, at least like I'm not living in regret. I can move on to the next thing and keep it pushing. Because there is some people that, you know, you hit rock bottom, and this is the part where it gets tricky. Like, you don't motivate yourself or push yourself, or you don't have that support system or people to support you and be like, hey, get back up. Hey, get back up. Some people don't even have that. And some people don't even have the will to want to keep moving forward. And I'm not gonna lie, I've had those moments in my life. And thank God that I did get sent people in my life that pushed me. Thank God. And there's times where I had to push myself. There's times where I literally, like, I was dying on the inside, but I was still showing up to, like, you know, still show up to my job, still feed myself, still bathe myself, still clothe myself, still, you know, be able to move and be able to take care of my animals at the same time. Because it's just like, girl, if you don't do this, everything like, it's gonna collapse. You gotta make something, like, you gotta make something happen. And there's times where I have paid the price. There's been times where I've called out of work because I just didn't feel like it, or because I was feeling like shit, or because I was like destroyed, or because I was going through some health issues. Like, there's been many times that I've gone through that, and I paid the price by, you know, not having enough money, having to come up with money, having to DoorDash, having to sell my stuff, to figure out how I'm gonna make the ends meet. Yes, I've gone through this stuff, and it's hard to believe sometimes because, like, I'm perceived as a stable woman, and yeah, for the most part I am, but there is times where it's just like, I'm by myself. I gotta make things work. I gotta make things happen. And so that's why I was just like, you know, your childhood, the way that you grew up really shapes you. And it's also like, another like topic that we did talk about on the phone was, it's like monkeys. There was like a video I came across, and it was showing you this example. There's these 5 monkeys. One of them is able to climb the ladder. The other 4 get rained on. So they're mentally and psychologically are being taught that they're not able to climb this ladder. Keep doing it a few times, then they're gonna try holding back this one monkey down, because the other one's already like mentally thought like, well, we can't escape, we can't get out of this. And even if like one of the monkeys gets put onto a raincoat, they're still gonna try and hold the other monkey down. And that's kind of the same thing, like, you become who you surround yourself. And that is something that I'm like, oh, so association from people really does matter. Be intentional and be careful with who you surround yourself, because you become who you are. And, you know, I've noticed that sometimes, like, it could be even your own family unintentionally try to hold you back. It could be your significant other that's unintentionally holding you back. And there's also, you know, your friend group. You're thinking like, oh, we have history, we have long term, but take a real actual look. Where has this friend been at right now? Have they evolved? Have they grow? Are they like heavy on wanting to grow and expand? Or are they just same place, same spot, same situation, same mentality? And, you know, it's cool, okay, but Really consider that for yourself on the psychological level for you. Do you want to keep moving? Do you want to stay the same? And this year has been a lot of releasing for me. A lot. I've lost my community, the community that I used to have, that I had for quite some time, maybe up to a year. All gone. All gone. And I do know that I play my own part. Cool. But I'm also grateful at the same time, because it's also given me like that liberation to see myself as who I am outside of that. Whenever I'm not getting influence, whenever I'm in my own energy, to get to know myself as a person. Because it's whenever you're by yourself when you're showing your true colors. It's when you're by yourself that you get to see like, how do you behave, and why do you behave the way, and why do you feel the way that you do? And also observe like your thought process, your emotions, like where are they coming from? Like, are you seeking this drama? Are you the drama? Are people bringing in the drama for you? Like, that's where like you're visualizing and seeing like, what do you really want in your life? And this life really has just like said, we're gonna destroy this foundation, because this foundation that you built it upon was through survival, and it was through low self-esteem, survival, insecurity, possessiveness, hierarchy, pride, ego. At first it went from survival, and it went through all that. And it all collapsed right in front of my face. Right at the last minute, everything collapsed. All that I thought that I worked for quite like 2 or 3 years, gone. It's all gone. And so that was a soul shattering moment for me. Because it's like my whole entire reality, the structure and safety that I thought I once had, it's gone. Gone, destroyed, taken away from me. And that devastated me. It threw me into a spiral. I was in a freaking spiral. And I'm not sure if you can tell by previous like vlogs, I've spiraled. I was not in the right mental state at all. I can pull it through in front of a camera, but behind closed scenes, I'm losing my bastard mind. I'm crying. I'm devastated. I'm on the floor. I'm going through panic attacks, anxiety, hiding in the bathroom, trying to regulate myself, trying to remind myself that I'm safe, I'm okay, everything's all fine, that everything's gonna work out, there's a higher plan here. Constantly. There's times where I couldn't even feed myself because I was that down. I was so in and out of my own consciousness. I was struggling. And I am grateful that I have parents that, in that time of the heat, whenever I'm actually losing my bastard mind, or, regardless if they do or don't know, during those times where I'm going through that, they still welcome me into open doors. They still let me in. Some people don't even have that. They don't even get that privilege. But I do. And that's why I'm grateful for them. That's why I'm glad that I do have a family. And even if I'm not so close associated with the rest of my family, I'm glad at least I have this family. This family that still lets me in. Even when sometimes I can be a little brat. I can be complicated, but who isn't? I'm glad that I have my family. I am glad that I still have that. At least that little bit of myself. Because then I can get reminded that I'm still going to be okay even if I lose it all. Because, I've gone through a lot. And I haven't really shown people a lot. I don't really talk much about it. I don't want to be posting it on social media. But I've gone through a lot. Especially within these 4, maybe up to 5 years. I've gone through a lot. I've healed through a lot. I've dealt with a lot by myself. Some people wouldn't be alive. I'm telling you this right now. There's been so many times where I've had almost death experiences. Seriously. And some of them had to do with the freeway. I'm a lucky duck. I've been very lucky to even be alive. I've been lucky to even be here in front of the camera. Because nobody really knows. I show y'all this front, but y'all don't know how much I've gone through. So that's why, like, whenever people wish to have my life, I'm like, I sometimes don't even wish it on anybody. I wish I had a different kind of reality. I wish I had something way different. Not this one. This one really has been like a slap in the face. I've been hit so many times. And it's given me harsh realities each and every time. But each and every time, like, I didn't give up. There's times where I was at that point where it's like, okay, you're devastated. You're going to be crushed. Cool. But then it's like, yo, you got bills, you got pets, like, you got debt, like, you got to pay this stuff off. Like, you can't, like, it's going to bite you all in the ass. Like, you leave one thing off and then everything collapses. So I couldn't give up by myself. Even whenever I was being put into survival, like, I couldn't give up. I just refused. Now, if I was at my parents' house, yeah, I had moments. And one of them, like, had to do with college. I was already in my senior term of college. And I was going through a toxic relationship. And I was already burned out. It was a fast-paced program. I was already on my senior term, on my last term. And they decided to post the grades at the last minute on the week before finals. You think this girl is going to pass her classes like a week before finals? The program is a private program. Not everybody can get in it. I was lucky enough to be able to pass the entry exam. I was lucky enough that I had parents that, were able to financially sustain me for that stuff. So with that being said, that last week, I was like, I can't do this. I'm going to get myself out of this. Like, my parents have invested so much into this. I've done so much effort to study for this so I can get kicked out of this program because I didn't pass my 3 classes. Yeah, no. So I ended up dropping. Everybody was advising me, don't do it. I'm like, I know I'm not going to pass the test. I already know. My grades were below a 70. So I'm like, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna be stupid. Like, no. And so I did that. And then after that, I didn't go back the next semester because that's whenever COVID happened. This was like in 2021 or 2020 when COVID first happened. And they started doing like online virtual classes and stuff. Well, during that time, I went through a whole major depression. I was devastated because this was my dream. This was my dream career. This is way before spirituality. I was just barely into the zodiac signs and astrology. I was not that deep. This was like way then. Like, I wanted to work with animals since a kid. I always wanted to. I wanted to be a veterinarian. But then I was like, I don't want to do all those years. So then I decided to be like, you know what? Let me just be a veterinary technician. And that's what I went for. So I was training myself to be a vet technician. And I was almost there. I was already doing farm animals. I was already doing surgeries. And then I was already getting study material for the pre-licensing. So it's just crazy how far I went just so I don't freaking finish it. It's like when you're at that finish line. I could have gotten my associates in that, but I didn't. So I fall into this major depression. I end up losing it. I'm actually jobless at that time too. And this is during COVID. And I'm here applying to every clinic in Houston. Nobody's hiring me. Nobody's calling in. And I'm here bro, I got the experience. What is going on? It's not making sense. Well, after that, I ended up going back to Taco Bell and working at Chick-fil-A. I did those 2 jobs for quite a minute. And I was so miserable until I got lucky enough to work at this vaccine clinic. I got into the vaccine clinic and I was so stoked. It was only part-time, so it wasn't much money. I was still living with my parents, so it was just all right, this is decent money. Cool, I can still do something about it. And then after that, that's when I get the call from Banfield, and that's in Waco. And that's where my life shifted. But it's really kind of damn, I've taken shortcuts in a way. I could have gone back and finished and, gotten paid higher. I could have still progressed. But it's just it's just been such a journey for me. Because even moving to Waco, I've gone through my spiritual awakening. I wasn't spiritual at the beginning. If you asked me a few years back and you talked to me about like spirits, I would have been dipping out on you. I would have not been around y'all. I'm like, yeah, bye. If you would have told me about like tarot cards like years ago, I would have been like, get away from me. I don't trust you. You're weird. Definitely I was don't not mess with the Ouija board. Like bye. Like even now, I don't care if you use it like in a responsible way. Bye. Like you're not catching me with that stuff. If you talked to me about aliens years ago, I would have just I couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle it. I don't watch scary movies till this day at all. Can't handle it. It's too much for me. And even back then, I still couldn't watch them. So that still hasn't changed. But even just to deal with like a ghost story, it paranoids the crap out of me. So yes, and now like moving forward, like this girl has gone through spiritual awakenings. I've seen flying cars. I've seen UFOs. Like I guess like I've also experienced like time travelers. I've seen like gnomes. Like what? I've been able to channel like other people's like past ancestors. I've been able to channel like the divine source when it comes to my readings. Like I've been able to like be in sync with the universe and be in that frequency. Like I am a completely whole different person than I was like 5-8 years ago. I was not woke at all. I was not knowledgeable at all. I was asleep. I didn't even know that I was gonna have this occur to me in my life. I didn't know that. I feel like I just went and rambled on about my whole life, but I didn't know that. I did deal at the beginning when I was like in Waco with like not such pleasant spirits that from the other realm that you wouldn't want to deal with, but this was not my doing. There was somebody else's doing. Yeah. And it's like you go from dealing with like humans, like trying to prevent yourself from situations, but then there's like the other side. And so I've gone through like that, near-death experiences, relationships, even sometimes like even friendships where it's like, can I even trust you? Are you even worthy of my friendship? And I understand that like whenever it's like a projection, like you're at that vibration and that's why you're attracted to that kind of individual. But at the same time, I'm like, what the fuck? What is in your fucking my mind? And I can understand, like, people operate from their own trauma, from their own programming. So I'm like, okay, but it's not for me. And there's been times where I get demonized because I cut people off. Oh, well, but I don't want that in my life. And then we go back to like that conversation, like you become who you are by association. So bye. So yeah, I feel like you got a lengthy story of my life, and I don't even know what direction I'm heading with this, but it's kind of crazy. Like it's been a lot, and I don't even know where I'm being taken to now at this point in my life. I'm just trying to start over. That's where I'm at. I'm starting over, calling it a day, and just healing, because that's all I got going on at this point. Just focus on myself and just heal. At this point, I'm not looking for nothing. At this point, I'm not looking for nothing. At this point, I'm just doing me. At the end of the day, I'm just gonna do me. Focus on myself. Make sure that I'm, doing right with myself health-wise, doing right emotionally, doing right mentally. And that's what matters. And then I can't believe I almost cried on camera. That's a struggle for me. I can't cry on camera. I feel fake. Like, it feels like I'm being a little actress whenever I'm getting recorded while I'm crying. And that makes any sense. Like, I cannot. But if the camera's off, I'll be bawling my eyes out. Like just a few days ago, I was trying to bawl my eyes out and I just couldn't because I had this throbbing like headache. And every time I try like cry, like my head would hurt. And I'm just like, oh, this is fucking bullshit. Ooh. Like I want to cry and I can't cry. So then I took my ass back to bed and I was like, you know what? I'm taking my ass to sleep. So I did. I took my happy ass to sleep. But I hope you enjoy my little ramble. I feel like I said enough. And I hope this gives you perspective. Like, you know, everybody's human. I'm human. I go through my own stuff. And, you know, I wanted to give y'all some perspective. I'm not a robot. I'm not a performer. I am a human being that does experience real feelings, real stuff. And you're watching me in the midst of me growing and evolving as an individual. Like, I'm not gonna be the same individual that I was like a few months ago, 3 months ago, 6 months ago, or even a year. I'm evolving. And you know, you either join me in my journey or you just get left behind and you get your own journey. But this is mine. And you know, if you made it this far into this video, thank you. Thank you for like joining me. Thank you for listening to me. And thank you for taking time out of your day to like listen to me, because I don't know. Sometimes I find myself interesting and some days I'm just like, I'm like, how do people like watch me? But it takes some time. It does, definitely. And if you ever like thinking about like doing content creation, it takes time. Because back then, I really did not have the confidence at all. I did not. It took me even a hot minute to even start taking selfies again. Because I did not see myself as pretty for quite some time. So taking pictures has been that self-love, that self-confidence. And that's what I wanted to show y'all. I'm human at the end of the day. I go through my own stuff. I got my own insecurities. I do got my own traumas. And I wanted to show you like the example of like, you know, you become who you are. And I noticed that a lot whenever I worked at Amazon. Because at first I was the oddball out. I was a bright ball. I was catching a lot of people's attention. Because I went from like this high vibration to like meeting them where they're at. And then by the end of the time that I ended up leaving Amazon, I had some deep inner programming, the way that they think, the way that they talk, the way that they view the world, like was very old school like. So that does come in factors. So whenever you're working with your coworkers, like be mindful like of what you're picking up from. What are you learning from them? How do they communicate? Do they talk about people? Do they talk about what they're upgrading to? What is it? So there's that. But I hope you have a good rest of your night, and let's see if I get another reading for you. Okay? Bye.